Welcome to Limitless You. This is the podcast that empowers you to tap into your extraordinary potential and achieve your wildest dreams. We're all about self-discovery, growth, and embracing your uniqueness. I'm your host, Taryn, and I am thrilled to embark on this journey called You. Hello and welcome to Limitless You. Today's episode is going to be focusing on your mindset. So how to have an audaciously confident mindset. How can you think confidently all the time? It feels like that might be an overwhelming statement to make, but I promise you that it is possible to change your mindset so that you can be confident anytime, any place, anywhere, and move forward with that confidence, not be held back by limiting beliefs or lies that you may be thinking, even in your identity. How can we be audaciously confident in all of these things in our lives? First, we want to start with our beliefs. Everybody has limiting beliefs. Everybody has thoughts about themselves. Everybody has thoughts about everybody else. We have thoughts running through our mind all the time. There's no limit to how much we think all day. And it can be a very overwhelming experience sometimes if we stop to think about what we're thinking. A lot of people will just go through life. They just continue. They just want to, not even give their thoughts time because those thoughts can be overwhelming. They can create anxiety. They can be frustrating and scary for a lot of people. Most of us also believe that our capacity is set. So we think that this is how I am. This is as much as I can do. This is as far as I can go. And nothing can be further from the truth. Our beliefs about us determine our decisions that we make. Our beliefs about us determine how far we can go in life. And if we feel that our capacity is set, if we feel that this is as far as I can go, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. I'm not one for manifestations or, fake it till you make it, or all those big fancy things that a lot of coaches put out there today. But I am very, very confident that what we believe about ourselves is how we are going to outwork our lives. A couple of Sundays ago in church, our pastor used the example of a hairworm. And I don't know if you've ever heard about a hairworm, but they are disgusting little creatures. I am not exactly sure why God created them, and it's definitely a conversation that I would like to have with him one day. But a hairworm is a parasite, and it attaches its larvae to grasshoppers or snails or some sort of creature like that. And it basically takes over the brain of that creature. And it makes that creature search out water. So it has to go and find water, a puddle, a pond, a fish pond, a bird bath, something like that. It will cause that creature to drown itself so that the hairworm can reproduce, so that the eggs can be born and the larvae can be born and it can reproduce itself in the water. But it actually causes the creature to commit suicide. And he reminded us of how our thought patterns and our thought life do the same thing. There are hairworms, I know, horrible image right now, creeping around in our brains that want to take over our lives, that want to take over our thoughts. And we need to be a keeper of our thoughts. We need to be a watcher of our thoughts. What is happening in your thought life? What is happening in your self-worth and your self-belief? I was having this conversation this week with a masterclass that I'm hosting, and we were talking about how we can value other people. But before we can value other people, we have to know how to value ourselves. If we don't value ourselves, our valuing of other people can almost be inauthentic because we're run down with guilt and shame and thoughts of inadequacy. I'm not good enough. I can't do this enough. I will never be who I need to be. I feel like I don't belong here. And so we'll filter the things that we do through those thoughts. A lot of people filter their whole life through their self-worth and through their value. In fact, I would imagine that all of us do. So how do we begin to change these thoughts? What's so important about this? Well, for starters, if we don't control our thoughts, we're going to end up like those creatures with the hairworms. I want you to imagine those negative thoughts coming into your mind. And the more we feed those thoughts, the more they begin to take over, the more they begin to influence how we think about ourselves, how we think about other people. They become the rose-colored filters, the rose-colored glasses that we wear, and we begin to see everything through those. So if I feel like I don't belong, then certainly anytime I'm engaging with somebody, that is going to be my filter. And I may have thoughts like, oh, they're just being nice to me because they have to, or they're just being polite because, they don't want to tell me that I didn't really do a good enough job. Or they're just my friends because they feel sorry for me. Or it was just fluke. I just got lucky this time. I can't consistently sustain this output in my life. And so we have these thoughts that begin to take over, and they bring excuses. Anytime we begin to do well in our lives, these thoughts take over and they begin to create an identity for us. So in order to begin to understand our thoughts, we need to take time to consider, what do I think about myself? What are some of if I were to describe myself to people, would it be difficult for me to express my strengths? Would I want to play down my strengths? And yes, there's humility. Yes, we want to be, a human being. We don't want that narcissistic ego type presentation of ourselves. But would I be putting myself down? What do I think about myself? Do I think that I can actually do what I'm on this earth to do? What are my beliefs? Do I believe that even if you're on a spiritual journey, do you believe that you're worthy of being in God's presence? Do you believe that you're worthy of receiving His grace? If you are a Christian and you've received His grace, do you believe that He chose you? For others, it might be their environment. What has your environment been saying about you? Perhaps you've been in an environment where people are telling you that you're stupid, where people are telling you that you're a daydreamer, or you never take anything seriously, or you're just the baby of the family, and you're never going to grow up. Maybe they've been telling you that you need to just be quiet. We don't have time to listen to you right now. So what has your environment been telling you? What about some of the experiences you've had? If you think back to why you may feel this way, and I don't like to dwell on the past in a sense of dredging up issues for ourselves, but there are moments in our lives where we distinctly felt inadequate, where we distinctly felt like we weren't good enough for something. What were those experiences, and where did that voice come from that is there? Also, how do you spend your time thinking? So when you say you'd like to do something, what are the first thoughts that come to you about wanting to do that? You're like, nope, I'm not good enough. Do you compare yourself to other people? I've been having recent conversations with other clients, and there was a lot of comparison towards other people, and just saying, I wish I could be like that person. I wish I could be like that person. And while it's good to admire other people and their strengths and the things that they bring, we can't compare ourselves to them, because they've been assigned to live their lives and we've been assigned to live our lives. My life, my experience, my journey. I am the only person who can live this experience. Nobody else can live this experience because nobody else is me. Nobody else can bring or serve people in the way that I do because nobody else has lived my experience. And the same applies to you. Your experience is completely unique to you and needs to be celebrated for that. It needs to be accepted for that experience. You need to be accepted for who you are and the life that you've lived. How do you feel about people who are around you achieving their dreams? How does that impact your thought life? Do you get jealous of them? It's okay to say you do, because we're all human beings, and I think we do naturally feel jealousy towards other people who are succeeding. But what do we do with those thoughts? That's what's important. Do we put ourselves down when we feel those thoughts? Do you have a when we statement? Or when I statement? When I achieve this degree, I will be worthy. When I get my master's, I'll be adequate for this job. When I lose weight, I will be, good enough to get on social media. Or when I find a husband, when I find a wife, when I finish school, when I earn $1 million. I had so many experiences with clients who felt inadequate because they hadn't received particular monetary values in their businesses. And yes, they were doing well, but because they hadn't hit this particular mark, they were a failure. And so that was the emphasis of their lives, was I'm a failure because I haven't done this. I'm a failure because my staff keep wanting to change. I'm a failure because I can't seem to understand my spouse. Those things do not create your identity. Your identity belongs to God. It doesn't belong to you. He is the one who gives you worth and value. And I'm a person of faith. You know that. I've said that all the time. And I'm not going to be shy in saying that our value is based on the fact that we were created for a purpose. We were created to bring glory. And anything that we do in our lives that celebrates who we are is bringing glory to Him. If we are believing thoughts about ourselves that the Creator did not think about us, then we're living a lie. We are living in a limited belief. I have 4 wonderful children, and I wish that they could see just an inkling of how much I see in them. I wish that they could see just an inkling of the potential that I can see in them. And yes, sometimes I can sound like a nag and it comes across like, oh, mom, like, stop with that already. There's so much pressure. But it's because I see so much of that potential, and I hear their hurt and their pain when they feel like they're not good enough for certain things. And I think, why would you think that? You're amazing. You're incredible. You're awesome. And I believe that God feels the same way about us when He sees us thinking, nope, you can't do that. No one's ever tried that before. Don't move in that direction. I believe that God really feels that pain of, but I created you for so much more. You can be so much more. And it all starts with our beliefs. It starts with our mindset. That little hairworm has been taking over with those thoughts of, you're not good enough. And then we begin to feed it with thoughts of, yep, see how you made that mistake. This bias, this confirmation bias of anytime we make a mistake, it's like, well, I told you, you couldn't do this anyway. Or anytime we mess up in a relationship, well, you're not any good at relationships. You should just be alone. Or anytime we try to stand up and speak in front of people and we stutter, or we feel shy or nervous, it's like, yep, I told you, you shouldn't do that. You're not good enough to do that. And now those are the beliefs that really begin to take root and anchor themselves in our lives, that begin to hold us back so that we can't manage, we can't do the things that we said we're going to do. So how do we change it? It's how do we change these thoughts? How do we not think these thoughts anymore? Well, I want to tell you there's an easy 5-step process to do. There's so many variations of this process out there. Dr. Caroline Leaf has an amazing 5-step program that she uses with her neurocycle, and I highly recommend that you download her neurocycle. I have no affiliation to it whatsoever. But seeing as I work with a lot of people who are either building their businesses, or they are engineers and they're in a building capacity, or they're building their lives, I decided to come up with one with the word build. So an acronym with the word build. I think it's an easy word to understand. And I'm going to give you this 5-step process of how to renew your thoughts, how to renew your mind, how to help bring about a great belief in your life of who you are and what you can do. I recommend we do this on a regular basis. I don't want to spend too much time thinking about where these things come from, because again, it creates a negative feeling. And I want to help us create a positive mindset, positive psychology, where we can actually feel like we can embrace the who we are, the greatness of who we've been made to be, and the talents and the gifts that we have. But there's a small step in there where we do think about where it came from. So stick with me for a moment. Let's have a look at the build process. Build, and the letters BUILD. So build, we're going to build a new mindset. We're going to build a new you. We're going to build audacious confidence for you. The first letter B is to break it down. What is the thought? So imagine yourself in a situation where you do feel inadequate, right? Where you do have these thoughts that come up. What is the thought that comes up for you? Is it, oh, I'm just not good enough? Or maybe the thought is, I always make this mistake. I always shoot myself in the foot when it comes to these things. So break it down. Make the thought as clear and articulate as you can. Taryn, you're such a fool because you do blah, blah, blah. I'm not a fool. I'm just using the example. So break it down. Make it as clear and simple as you can. Then you is to uncover. So think about, where did this thought come from? Was it an experience that I had in the past? Maybe it was, you have all heard my story about my high school telling me that I was too happy for the high school. So maybe the thought was, if I break it down, the thought is, no one's ever going to take you seriously, right? And then I think about, well,
Was there an experience that I went through that may have been the root of this thought? And I can think back and spend some time here and I think, okay, once upon a time, somebody told me that I never take things seriously. They told me that I was too happy for my school. And that grew into this belief that I'm never going to be taken seriously enough. So I want to uncover where did that possibly come from? Then I want to imagine what could my life be like if I didn't actually believe this about myself? What would my life look like if I thought I can be taken seriously? I can be taken as a professional, as opposed to nobody ever takes me seriously. If I am uh, starting a new business, or I'm working with a new client, or I'm stepping into a new position at work, what could be possible for me if I didn't believe this lie in my life? What could be possible for me if I thought that I actually was who I say I am? What would be possible? So I want to imagine that, spending time thinking about often we spend time thinking about what the worst case scenario could be. Well, let's imagine what the best case scenario could be. Spend time imagining. Remember, as children have wonderful imaginations, and somewhere along the line as adults, we tend to lose track on that. But I want you to spend time imagining, what could the best case scenario be for me if I didn't believe this, or if I believed the opposite of it? Then I want you to do some location. So the L is locate. Locate the truth. What do I know about myself that is evidence that I am not what the statement says? I want you to think about your brain as an ATM. When you put your card into the ATM, you punch in your numbers, and then the ATM will give you the money that you've asked it for, assuming the money's in your bank account. But we're going to get to that point. Let's assume the money's in your bank account. We need to locate that money and take it out. So I want you to think about evidence that proves to you that you are the opposite of this lie, so that I can be taken seriously. If we're using the example of I can be taken seriously, I need to find evidence. Well, the evidence is, hey, I have trained and presented to women in engineering. I've trained and presented to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. I've trained and I'm an international speaker. I've spoken at events in different places around the world. I train people on Zoom every week from multiple countries around the world. I help transform lives. I have clients that still talk to me years and years after working with him, telling me, oh my gosh, Taryn, this is happening in my life. When I go through this, you're in my head and I can hear you saying, don't do this, or don't believe that, or you're better than this. So there is truth that I can draw on. There's that evidence that I can draw on to help me see that I'm not the limiting belief. Now, if you're struggling with this point and you're struggling to say, well, I don't have any evidence that I'm not this thing, well, then I want you to call a friend. If you remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and there was a 50-50, or call a friend, I want you to call a friend. And don't be shy to say, hey, can you help me remember some areas that I'm really good at? Can you help me remember areas where I have succeeded, things I have succeeded in, places where I have accomplished some of the stuff that I'm talking about here? And I guarantee that if this is a good friend, they will help you do it. They will help you locate the evidence that you are the possibility. You are the truth. You are the ability to do and say as you want to do and say. You're not the imposter. You're not the fraud. You're not the lie that we've seen at the beginning, but you are the truth of that statement. And then lastly, what is your action plan? What are some steps? So this is do it. The D is to do it. Go ahead and do it. What are some steps that you can take immediately that help you see that you can accomplish the things that you've set out to accomplish? So if I was to say, okay, nobody takes me seriously, that was the lie. The truth is, I actually have clients in my life that are having their lives transformed. I speak at events. I am raising 4 incredible children who are understanding the truth and know how to navigate their emotional capacity and their lives, obviously with mistakes. Don't worry about that. We're not perfect. But now I'm saying, what action do I need to take to reinforce this belief? What do I need to do? Just do it. Think about Nike. It's even the image that I have is a little tick. Just do it. Well, for me, that would be maybe creating social media content. so that I can put myself out there instead of hiding away. Maybe it's contacting that person that I've been putting off for so long because I'm afraid that they don't see the value that I offer as a coach or something along those lines. What is one action that you can take that will help reinforce the truth about who you are? So, reinforce the truth in your identity as opposed to the lie in the original thought that you were having. And then we come back to build. We want to start all over again. BUILD. Break it down. What is the thought? Uncover. Where did it come from? Imagine, what could my life be like if I didn't believe this? L, locate some evidence, some truth that you are this person who you want to be. And then D, do it. Reinforce the habit, reinforce the identity of who you want to be so that you can have the dreams and the accomplishments that you've been talking about. So I know that that was a whirlwind rush through that acronym build, but I also know that it can be really powerful if you spend some time going through this process. I will add some of these notes, show notes at the end of this podcast for you to go through that process by yourself. But remember that we want to spend more time on the imagining part. We want to spend more time on the locating the truth part and more time on the do it part so that we actually are taking action. We're reinforcing that belief in ourselves. We're building ourselves up. We want to do the building part. Once the foundation is laid in a house, then it's like this beautiful building gets created. And then we can take time to make the walls fancy and we get to decorate the inside and choose which beautiful windows we get to do. So yes, the foundation work is a bit difficult. Yes, it looks messy. Yes, it's important. But then once that foundation is laid, man, we get to build this beautiful house. And I hope that this has helped you with some steps on how to build a strong, audaciously confident mindset for you. It's an easy step that you can take, even if you're about to step into a meeting and you're feeling like that anxiety or that imposter syndrome feeling coming through, and you're like, hang on, what did Taryn say? Okay, build. What is the thought? I can break it down. What is the thought I'm feeling? I'm feeling like I don't belong here. I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. Uncover. Where did that come from? You know what? Somebody said something 5 years ago. I'm going to choose not to believe that right now, because if I don't believe that, imagine what could be possible in this meeting when I step into this meeting and I'm not worrying about imposter syndrome, but I'm in my full confidence. Just imagine what's possible. Oh, locate evidence. You know what? I presented a meeting last week and I killed it. I was so good. People loved the stuff that I brought. I transformed information and people at the table. It was just so good. And then do it. I'm going to step into this meeting right now. I'm going to be phenomenal. That's who I am. I can do this. And if I need to call a friend to boost me and build up my psyche before I get in, go ahead and do that. We all need friends every now and again, but you can renew your mind. You can be a very different person every single day. If you do this gradually every single day, you can be a phenomenally, audaciously confident person. It doesn't take that much. I was listening to another coach this week. It was a recording that was about 10 years old. She was one of my first coaches that I ever got introduced to in this mindset space. And it was so good to hear her talk, because she was engaging with a client and the client said, well, I just don't think I can do it. I just don't think that I have what it takes to step into the space. And she was like, well, who said that anyway? Why do you believe that? And the person said, well, when I was a child, this happened and that happened. She goes, okay, but what do you want to believe now? Who's in charge of your thoughts? Is it the hairy worm or is it you? Is it time to get a parasite killer in your thoughts, which this build acronym can absolutely do? It can kill all those parasites in your mind so that you don't get drowned with these negative thoughts, but you get to choose. You are the person who's in control of your thoughts. Nobody else is in control of your thoughts. They might try and send things to you. They might try and influence you with their comments or whatever the case might be, but you alone are the one who is in control of your thoughts. You can do it. You have the ability to control. None of us are sitting with those caps. You remember the cartoons with those hats, those metal hats, and they're like attached to all the things. None of us are walking around with that, but we behave like we have those on, where everybody else controls our thoughts. Every environment or experience controls our thoughts. No, no, no. We need to build the resilience. We need to build our audacious confidence so that we can be a limitless you. that you can be limitless in your capacity, limitless in achieving your dreams, limitless in your leadership ability with the people you work with and engage with on a daily basis. You can have these things, and it all starts here. It all starts in your mind. Let's get rid of those hairworms. Let's get rid of those parasites that want to drown us in our thoughts and our anxiety. You can have this change. It is up to you to take control. If you need help in this area, you want a little bit more help, I would love to introduce you to my Limitless You coaching program. Go ahead and book a call with me with the link below. It is really focused on understanding who you are. So this is the evidence trip. I spent 8 weeks with you developing your evidence of just how limitless you can be and giving you the tools and authority to change your life so that you can be your limitless you. Go ahead and book a call with me. Otherwise, please click like, share, subscribe, whatever those 3 things are. I would love to hear from you. Please leave your reviews or comments. I would love to hear from you and how this has impacted your life. Have a phenomenal rest of your day. Bye-bye.